Shalom. I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Quadash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also, want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. This is Shabai from the GMS Denver camp. And through the Spirit, I'm going to go in on Amos the fifth chapter. And let's go ahead and read it without further ado. It says, "Hear ye this word which I take up against you, even a lamentation, O house of Israel." Alright, so, we always tell you, the Most High Yahweh, He's only dealing with Israelites, okay? That's the only nation that He's concerned with, okay? Verse 2, the virgin of Israel is fallen. She shall no more rise. She is forsaken upon her land. There is none to raise her up. And fell out of what? We fell out of the Most High's favor. We fell out of His grace. So we're being punished right now. To this day, we've been punished. You so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay? There is none to raise her up. Right. There's none to raise her up except for Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai is He's gonna literally raise up the elect. Right? First, it's going to be a spiritual waking us up and us standing on our feet, and then it's going to be a actual gathering of the elect, which He's going to take us up in the chariot, right? All the chariots are going to show up on the scene. And the Edomites, the heathen, they're going to be in a bad situation because the Most High is going to visit the earth via Yahweh Shai and the angels, which are the chariots. The angels are manning the ships. They're manning those chariots, what you ignorantly call UFOs. Okay. Verse 3, "For thus saith Yahweh the Most High, the city that went out by 1,000 shall leave 100, and which went out forth by 100 shall leave 10 to the house of Israel." And that's spiritual because it's twofold, because it's talking about actually back in the time of Amos, the prophet. But it's the same thing. Not all of the house of Israel is going to escape the destruction that's coming via nuclear missiles and also via the chariot fire. Because the chariots, they have the ability to shoot concentrated fire out of the chariot, right? Just like they show you in the sci-fi movies. Okay? It says in verse 3, verse 4, "For thus saith Yahweh unto the house of Israel, Seek ye me, and ye shall live." So this is reserved for those ones who are going to escape the destruction. The Israelites that are of the elect, we're going to escape the destruction. And why is that? Because we're seeking Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. Alright? let me get that word seek. Amos 5 and 4. Excuse me. All right, so here we go.
Strong's H 1875. Darash.
So that's to resort to seek with care, to inquire, to require, to resort to frequent, right? to consult, to inquire of, to seek, and it says of the Most High. Okay? To ask for, to demand, to practice, to study. And this is all the things that the elect are doing. We're inquiring of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Okay? Let me grab that word too real quick. I'll grab that because that was out of the blue letter. But inquire, I'll grab out of the Google. Let's see. Inquire definition. To investigate or look into. You see, we're the only ones seeking Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, and the only ones who are going to do that are the elect. Yeah, you're going to have heathen that are going to do research on it because, you know, they come across our camps, and they, you know, Esau's, like it tells you, he searches things out. Esau Edom will do that before the 2/3 will. Meaning Esau Edom, he'll go and he'll look into things. He looks into this truth, like guys like Vocab Malone, who are, you know, they call themselves Christian apologists, right? Pagan Christian apologists. But Jake's lazy. Jake don't seek nothing out. Jake doesn't become diligent. They don't investigate into this truth. They don't look into this truth. That's why they're not going to live, because they don't inquire of Yahweh. But it's the elect of Israel that will seek out and look into and investigate or probe. That's a similar word, probe. Dig, right? We dig deep, right? When we come to this knowledge. Research. These are all similar words to the word seek or inquire. Examine, explore, sift, analyze. You see? Study, consider. All right? Check out. All those things the elect are doing right now, namely the prophets, the teachers of Israel. It says, but seek not Bethel, nor enter into Gilgal, and pass not to Beersheba, for Gilgal shall surely go into captivity, and Bethel shall come to naught. Seek Yahweh, and ye shall live. Because all those other cities, our people were doing wickedness. They were seeking after other gods. Bethel and Gilgal, Beersheba. Seek Yahweh, and ye shall live, lest he break out like fire in the house of Joseph and devour it, and there be none to quench it in Bethel. Ye who turn judgment to wormwood and leave off righteousness in the earth. And that's the wicked portion of our people, who are those 2/3, right? Because what do? They leave off righteousness. They forsake Yahweh the Father, and they're forsaking Yahweh Shai the Son. That's why when you call in on Jesus Christ or Cracker Jesus, you're forsaking Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Okay? Seek him that maketh the 7 stars and Orion, and turneth the shadow of death into the morning, and maketh the day dark with night, that calleth for the waters of the sea, and poureth them out upon the face of the earth. Yahweh is his name. So you're supposed to be seeking after Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, nothing else. Anything outside of that, you're in the wrong mindset. That strengtheneth the spoiled against the strong, so that the spoiled shall come against the fortress. They hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. Right, because you people, and I'm talking about you 2/3, the wicked of our people, you've forsaken the truth, you're forsaking Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, and you hate the true prophets who Yahweh has set up, because we're speaking things that you've never heard. We're speaking things that are outside of what you've been taught here in Babylon. And so, now you're in a spirit of you hate us. You mistake the truth that we speak for hate. And in turn, you hate us, right? Is it Galatians 4 or no, maybe it's Philippians. Or maybe it's Ephesians. Let me see. Galatians 4:16. It is Galatians 4:16. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? See? So we become your enemy because you're not used to hearing, the men of the Lord tell you that Yahweh is a so-called black man. Tell you that Yahweh Shai is a so-called black man, right? You're comfortable when we tell you he's the cracker Jesus, because that's what you've been taught. Telling you the truth. We become your enemy. You see, and that's just only one example. Verse 11. For as much, therefore, as your treading is upon the poor, and ye take from the burdens of wheat, ye have built houses of hewn stone, but ye shall not dwell in them. Ye have planted pleasant vineyards, but ye shall not drink wine of them. And why is that? Because in the time of the prophet Amos, our people were taken into captivity. So they were building houses that they wouldn't live in. They were planting vineyards that they wouldn't enjoy wine from. And really, that's the same thing that's happening here in Babylon, America. A good example is look at the tribe of Issachar, the so-called Mexican. How many Mexicans are on a job site building houses? Matter of fact, lots of builders, building companies, that put houses up, put industrial buildings up. Well, guess what? They're hurting right now because of what Trump's doing out here in Babylon. He's deporting these workers, right? He's deporting their slaves, right? But guess what? The men that those men from I'm saying predominantly Issachar doing the building here right now in this day and age, are putting up these houses and buildings that they don't dwell in or they don't live in. They're building them for somebody else. So these are all curses, right? I believe that's in Deuteronomy 28 too. Let's get that real quick. Let's get Deuteronomy 28 and verse 30. It says, this is talking about your woman first. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. This is part of the curses of Babylon, right? So you'll go get you a wife, and guess what? Another man's going to lie with her. And the main reason this happens is because we're under the curses. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Right? So it all goes back to the curses, and these things have come to pass. In more than one captivity, we've suffered these curses. Right? Let's see. Okay, let's see. Amos. All right, so I was just trying to be diligent and dig deeper, just like we read earlier. So I just typed in what captivity was the prophet Amos in, and the majority of these answers say the Assyrian captivity. So that's what Google's saying. Don't quote me on that. If somebody knows, they can put it in the chat. Bob Gasha. All right, Amos 5 and 12. For I know your manifold transgressions and your mighty sins. They afflict the just, they take a bribe, and they turn aside the poor in the gate from their right. And that's our people. You can bribe a 2/3, you know? It says, therefore the prudent shall keep silence in that time, for it is an evil time. Seek good and not evil, that ye may live, and so Yahweh, the Most High of hosts, shall be with you as ye have spoken. So you're seeking evil when you might have good intentions going to your little pagan Christian church. You might have good intentions feeding the bums on the on Colfax, right? You might have good intentions, but Yahweh, he wants you to do this according to the knowledge and the truth, not according to your good intentions. All right? So you should be seeking the good, which the good, if you have a spirit to receive it, is coming into the fold of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Okay? Again, anything outside of that is going to fall short, and you're going to be destroyed you're going to be destroyed. You pagan Christians, you think it's okay just because, God knows my heart. God knows that I'm trying to be good. Well, you got to be good according to the knowledge and the truth, not just according to what your idea of good is. You see? Because let me give you an example. Romans. Romans 10:2, it says, it's talking about you 2/3, you Israelites that are, that are not doing it right, I'll say. Romans 10:2, for I bear them record that they have a zeal, which that means passion, of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. For they, being ignorant of the Most High's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of the Most High. Okay? So you have a passion for the Most High, a passion for God as an Israelite. But if you're not doing it according to the truth and according to knowledge, meaning you can't just call on any name, any God that you so well please. You have to use the true names, which is the prophets are on the scene right now. We're dropping the knowledge. We've been given the true names of the Father and the Son. And so when we teach those names, you have to believe those names. Excuse me. You have to believe in those names through your faith. And if you don't have the faith to do that, well, that shows you that you're not of the elect, because it tells you in Ecclesiasticus 17:10, it tells you, and the elect shall praise his holy name. So we know the names, okay? So that's not even up for debate or up for discussion. Like our apostles always say, we're not here to debate you, we're here to lecture. Okay? It's John 17:6. I have manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world. Thine they were, and thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word. So he's shown, Yahweh Shai has given us the true names. Okay? And we're keeping the word. How do we keep the word? By teaching this knowledge, by going out on the streets, by doing the lessons on the YouTube, on the internet. That's us keeping the word. And if you're, like I said, going back to what I said earlier, you might have good intentions, but if they're not you're not praising Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, then you're not glorifying Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. You're glorifying another, and you're in violation of the first commandment, right? Let's get that real quick. Exodus 20:2. Well, let's see. I'll start at 1. Exodus 20:1, it says, and the Most High spake all these words, saying, I am Yahweh thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Okay? So if you're calling on any other name, you're putting another God before Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai. But yet you'll still have people saying, oh, well, he has many names, or oh, you can use any kind of name you want, as long as your intentions are right. But no, that's not what it is. Your intentions have to be correct. Or I'm sorry, your the way you worship, it has to be in line with the truth. You can't just worship any old way. Okay? Amos, where am I at? Let's see, go back to Amos. It says, verse 13, therefore, the prudent shall keep silence in that time, for it is a time of an evil time. Seek good and not evil, that ye may live, and so that Yahweh, the power of the hosts, shall be with you as ye have spoken. Hate the evil and love the good, and establish judgment in the gate. And that's what the prophets are doing. Of course, we hate. That's why people get mad at us, because we get mad when people use false names or when they use names that the enemy gave them, like Yahweh, or when they say Jesus, We're like, no, that ain't what it is. We correct you in the gates, right? And we establish judgment in the gate. That's what we do. We're telling you you're going to be judged for using false names. We're telling you you're going to be judged for being wicked. We're telling you all these things because what we're doing, we're establishing the judgment of the Most High. It says, and establish judgment in the gate. It may be the Yahweh of hosts will be gracious unto the remnant of Joseph. Right? And the remnant is the elect. Therefore, Yahweh, the power of the host, the Lord saith, thus wailing shall be in the streets, and they shall say in all the highways, alas, alas. They shall call the husbandman to mourning, and such as are skillful of lamentation to wailing. And in all the vineyards shall be wailing, for I will pass through thee, saith Yahweh. Right, and who's going to be wailing? Well, first off, the men of Yahweh B'Shem Yeshai, we're lamenting right now, right? We're mourning. We're in a time of mourning. We're in the gates. We're mourning. But you Israelites, you wicked Israelites, you're in a time of, obliviousness. You're in a time of, you're not mourning. You're supposed to be mourning right now. And so, when Yahweh passes through Jerusalem, and Jerusalem's a people before a place, well, guess what? You're going to be guilty because you weren't mourning in the streets like you're supposed to be right now. We wear those garments. Those represent sackcloth. Sackcloth represents a garment, that you would put on during a time of mourning, as our tradition. Okay, sprinkling dust upon your head. Right? That was a tradition, an Israelite tradition, and that's why we wear those garments. Okay. Let's see. Verse 18, woe unto you that desire the day of Yahweh. To what end is it for you? The day of Yahweh is darkness and not light. Okay, so the day of Yahweh is a day of clouds, a day of darkness, right? Like it says right here. Let me get that. Let's get that. It's in Joel 2:2. Actually, I'll read verse 1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and that's what the prophets are doing. We're likened unto a trumpet. That's why we lift our voice loud like a trumpet. Isaiah 58:1, it tells us to lift up your voice like a trumpet. right? When you're given a warning. And sound an alarm in my holy mountain, which the holy mountain would represent the Israel, it would represent Zion or the Israelites. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand, a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, there hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. And the land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness, yea, and nothing shall escape them. Right, and if you're not... And if you're not in that true, you're not in the right spirit, you're not of the elect, you're going to be devoured by that fire. And the prophets are warning you right now. That's what our job is. We're sitting here warning you. And if you don't take heed, you don't listen to the warning, well, guess what? You're not going to escape. Only the elect are going to escape the destruction. Only the elect are going to escape the fire that is going to devour the majority of these people. Okay? So let's go back to Amos. You don't want to believe the words we speak because these are not our words. You don't want to believe in the things that we say. We're speaking according to the Most High. Okay? We're not speaking our own words. And if the majority of you, the Most High Yahweh has put a spirit on you not to believe us. And that's why we don't debate or we don't try to convert the 2/3. Because we know their lot. We know that you're in your lot. If you're sitting there not believing, well, guess what? You're supposed to be, because the Bible says that. The Bible says there's going to be more non-believers. There's going to be more destroyed than saved. Okay? But those pagan Christians, they'll pray for you because they don't really understand what the Bible says. They'll sit there and pray for you, even though they see you being wicked, even though they, and then again, they don't know the true names. So they even allow you, they allow you can be a homosexual and you can go and sit in their church. But that's not the same with the true men of the Lord. If we know you're a homosexual, we're going to tell you to repent. We're going to tell you you're an abomination. We're going to tell you to get the fuck away from us. But those Christians, they're going to be they're going to be nice to you, And this is why the world hates us. Because what did we read earlier? They hate him that rebuketh in the gate. They hate the ones that correct according to the truth. We become your enemy for telling you the truth. Woe unto you that desire the day of Yahweh. Oh, I read that already. Let me jump to 19. As if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him, or went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall, and a serpent bit him. Right, there's not going to be no escape. For the wicked of our people and the heathen, there's definitely not going to be an escape. But you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, you have a chance to repent. But it's already fixed. It's already written. It's already preordained, predestinated, that Yahweh has set you up not to believe this knowledge, not to believe this truth. And that's why it compares you to running from a lion only to meet a bear. You run from that bear, you run inside a house, you think you're safe, and then there's a snake inside the house and bites your ass. That's what it's going to be like when the day of Yahweh is upon you. Shall not the day of Yahweh be darkness and not light, even very dark and no brightness in it? And this is Yahweh telling Amos. Amos documented what Yahweh told him to put. Right? I despise your feast days and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. Meaning, because what are your feast days nowadays, you Israelites? You're keeping the pagan holidays, You're keeping Christmas. You're keeping Thanksgiving. You'll celebrate Halloween. You'll get all dressed up and as a ghost or a goblin or a celebrity. You know what I'm saying? So the Most High hates your feast days, because those are your feast days. You don't keep the feasts that we're supposed to keep. You know, like the Feast of Tabernacles. You know, you don't keep the true holy days. You keep you do the ways of the heathen. Verse 22, though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them, neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts. So the Most High is not dealing with the majority of you Israelites. He's fed up. He's been fed up. He was telling Amos that, and that was in the Assyrian captivity. So how much more now in the Babylonian American captivity, where wickedness has increased? Because when the so-called white man took over, the Bible tells you that wickedness increased. Let's grab that real quick. First Maccabees 1:9, I think. And this is talking about after Alexander the Greek died. And after his death, they all put crown upon themselves. Talking about the diadoche, which means successor in Greek. Diadoche, which was Cassander, Ptolemy, Antiochus, and I forgot who they are. Let me look them up real quick. But let me read it. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. Who were the Greek diadoche? Who were the Greek diadoche? Oh, there it goes. Yep. Okay, so here they are. Ptolemy, Antigonus, Seleucus, and Lysimachus. All right, I think I might have said those wrong, but that's okay. Here it is. Ptolemy, he took over Egypt. Seleucus, he took over Mesopotamia. Antigonus, he ruled over Asia Minor. Lysimachus commanded Thrace, the portions of mainland Greece. Okay, so once those Edomites took over, you had evils multiplied in the earth. After his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And, this lines up with secular history. When you look up the secular history, the stuff that they sometimes might teach you in high school, in history, they go into these actual kings. This is one of the reasons why they removed the Apocrypha, and Maccabees is in the Apocrypha, because it name drops people. And the Esau Edom, the so-called white man, he's clever. He doesn't want you to know who he is. He doesn't want you to know his history, his true history. Salakia. Amos 5 and 23. It says, take thou away from me the noise of thy songs, for I will not hear the melody of thy viols. So Yahweh don't even want to hear your church songs, your church music. Yahweh's not trying to hear all that. It's like an irritant. It's like smoke in his nostrils, smoke in your eyes. You know how smoke in your eyes will irritate you? That's how Yahweh looks at the, like what you would call today, in today's age, the pagan Christian church, when they sing those hymns, when they sing those songs in the churches. The Most High don't want to hear that shit. That's an irritant, like smoke in his eyes, or somebody like you walk around someone who smells really bad, and that's like irritating smell. That's how the Most High looks at your song. So when you're in those pagan churches singing, think about that next time you're in the pagan church singing. But let judgment run down as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream. Have ye offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel? But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch, and Chion your images, the star of your power of your God, which ye made to yourselves. And our people, remember, our people were scattered among all the nations. So when they were scattered, they started to, worship all these different false gods and shit. Moloch, a child sacrifice god, which goes back to the Ammonites, which would be the Japanese today. That was their god. That's a Moloch. Moloch is a god of the Ammonites. But you had Israelites worshiping all these false pagan gods, just like you do nowadays. Like, the white Jesus and the white God that you've been raised on here in Babylon. That's basically just like Moloch and Chion, right? Therefore will I cause you to go into captivity beyond Damascus, saith Yahweh, whose name is the Most High of Hosts, the God of Hosts, meaning the Lord of Armies, the God of Armies. And that's what he did. If Google was right and it was the Assyrian captivity that Amos was in, well, guess what? That's what happened to our people. They went into that captivity. And just like now, our people are still going off worshiping and glorifying false idols, false gods, false deities. And so guess what? You're going to get destroyed this time. You're going to get burned in that nuclear fire like we're always telling you. We're blowing the trumpet, okay? We're blowing the trumpet. So with that, I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah Kudash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akim who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom to the elect.